Comfort foods and weight loss. Do they give you, a leg up? Yes, they do, I think. What do I mean by comfort foods, actually? It is things that are, for example, similar breakfast meals all through the week, or maybe is a childhood dinner that you have that gives you an amount of predictability, and it just, it triggers your memory. Other comfort foods would be obviously predictability, and of course at the end of the day, enjoyment, right? For example, for a very long time, I used to have my breakfast be protein in terms of like eggs. And that's where I navigate to give me that predictability. When I do it during the week, it saves me from being too meticulous about logging in, because it's one of those things that I can just say, okay, my regular breakfast, the same amount of milliliters for milk or grams. It's very predictable. For dinner, for example, I may pick a meal that's actually related to my culture, which is Peruvian. If I want to have like a soup or rice, it not necessarily does it have to be, rice, chicken, and broccoli. It can be fried rice, but Peruvian fried rice, or it can be, something with that is cilantro based. Some of the stuff that I'm using is to do with that tie-in of what I used to eat when I was a little girl. Now, that's very actually nice and easy during the week, because most of us don't have events. We don't have things that we are engaging in, and is predictable. It's actually one of those things that you can add into your life without it being that hard. And if you have like schedule, you work, you come in, you can just make a meal and add those comfort foods. During the weekend, though, gets a little iffy for most of us, because we like to go, some of us like to go out, others like to order in. Nothing wrong with that. But what I do, I add the comfort foods in the morning, but anything that is protein based, because what happens after those meals, because I do have breakfast and I do have lunch, but at dinner, when I do have those predictable meals, it actually helps with satiety when I order a meal. So the last meal, I don't count, but I don't overeat. I eat, and I don't count. Of course I can drink, but because I have not been starving all day, I can eat and stop when I am, full. So comfort foods really do work. I think what the challenge would be is finding your personal comfort food, because my comfort foods, as I mentioned before, Peruvian food, anything to do with my childhood, that's my comfort food, but it can be completely different what it looks like to you. And that is okay. I just think that there's an amount of research and analyzing of the person saying, well, what brings me comfort? What can I use? Instead of, for example, using McDonald's as a comfort food, you can just make, your burger at home, it's some version of it that can help you and stick to an amount of calories within reason, and maybe even add. That's another thing that I do, is that the caloric dense meals that I want to have. For example, if I want to make chicken with like a heavy sauce that is my culture base, typically the sauces are pretty caloric dense. What I do at that time is actually will use the cup system, like meaning that I will use just a little up version of it. Even though I should weigh, sometimes I don't necessarily do that. I just use a small portion, and then most of my plate would be any vegetables and things like that. But a quarter of it would be the sauce, and a quarter of it would be rice. And then I would have a salad, or I would load up on those things, or anything to do with like carrots, peas, or things like that. So proportion would be something that I would use, and that seemed to be to work very well for me. I still use it to this day. So I would consider comfort foods and see how I go through weight loss, trying to navigate your everyday foods with adding some comfort foods where are predictable, they're comforting, and they are just, you know, very low anxiety base. Have a good one.